Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Did you know that Phil the Groundhog isn't the only thing Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is famous for? That's right, D2 Custom Guns, the home of Dan Heizenreiter and one of the best, fabulous 2011 builders in the country. So make sure you guys go check him out, D2 Custom, anywhere you can see him on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, go check him out. If you see myself, Patches Reader, anyone with the D2 Custom Guns, make sure you go check him out, and you will thank me later. Now, let's get on to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet for you delinquents. I'll call you delinquents this time, I guess. I got to mix it up every once in a while and call you something different. But for you guys who listen to this podcast every week, we've got another great episode sitting with us today. But I got to remind you, every episode of Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Dan's a fantabulous builder. He made my open gun. It's sitting behind me because I've got to put it away in my gun bag before I leave leave tonight because got a local match tomorrow. Well, by the time you listen to us, this is in the past, so deal with it, people. But go check out Dan, d2customguns.com. Tell him Manny sent you. Order that custom open gun, limited optics gun in the off season, so you can have it when major match season starts very, very soon, because it'll be before too long that you're signing up for major matches. Probably by the time you listen to this, you will already have signed up for like 4 or 5 major matches that open on January 1st. So please listen to this, I guess. But no, go check out Dan. Builds great guns. But without further ado, we're sitting down with, I would say, 1/3 of Team Monsoon. We have Ryan Huang. How you doing, Ryan?
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. It was about time. You're going to have to do me a favor and tell Pete he's interesting enough to talk to. Because he's like, I sent him the same invite, and he's like, I don't know if I'm interesting enough. I'm like,
I'm going to tell him. I texted him yesterday, and I told him I was sitting down with you, and he's like, yeah, I got an invite too. I'm like, man, you really got to do it. It's not only is it good for you, but it's good for the sport. The more we support things like this, it really helps get the name out for USPSA and Team Monsoon. But yeah, I'll nudge him some more.
There we go. I need peer pressure. That's usually how it goes. Peer pressure in a good sense, guys. That's what we do.
Nudging him is the safe way to say peer pressure.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. But Ryan, for people who don't know you, because they obviously probably don't live in the Midwest or in the Ohio area, who are you and how did you get into shooting?
Yeah. Okay. Well, here, let me start with this. First, you mentioned it already. I live in Ohio. I live in the Midwest, Area 5 to be exact. I got into shooting, seriously shooting, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I was with Tanner Donges, who's also on Team Monsoon, and we were shooting at an event called RX Range Day, which is hosted by Achilles Heel Tactical, who's in Columbus, Ohio. And we immediately got hooked. It wasn't practical shooting. It was all tactical. And then eventually we ran into a company called Point One Tactics, and we got the opportunity to shoot our first type of practical shooting. And we were immediately hooked. And that was our first full season. I think that was 2020 or 2021. That first opportunity was called Ohio Appreciation Day, where we go out to his range, Alpha Range, and shoot practical shooting with all the guys from Team Monsoon, a few others. And that's where we got hooked. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. I'm 31 years old. At the age of 18, I moved to Orlando, Florida, where I studied at the University of Central Florida. While I was in college, I worked for a company called Holler Hyundai. It's the Holler Classic Automotive Group. I worked in automotive sales and automotive management. Also, at the same time, I was a college cheerleader. They paid for me to go to school. No prior cheerleading experience. I was a gymnast in high school, played soccer and tennis as well. But when I got to college, decided to try out, and what do you know, I got a scholarship and got lucky. And then after graduating, I stayed in Orlando until 2019, until I moved home to come work here in Ohio. I'm still in automotive, still love what I do. And back 2019, 2020, that's how I really got into practical shooting. That's a little bit about myself.
Wow. That is a lot to get through when it comes to that. That's a lot to digest for myself. So
I hope you wrote all that down. You got a lot to think about.
I do. I did write it down because if I don't write it down, I can't remember it really well. So
One, I will say, yes, you do have hair for sales. I will say that you got the hair for it. Like,
That's a compliment. I love that. Thank you.
I see so many salesmen who come into my facility, and I'm in the plastics industry, so kind of adjacent to automotive. Like we're like a tier 2 supplier for most of the people who deal with interiors of cars. Like we make like the colorants for your dashes and other parts in the car. But our salesmen are just old and they just don't have no style. And it's at least you have the style for sales. So it's like, you got the hair. You should be very proud of that. I wish I had that hair. Why I wear a hat? Like rule number 1, you ain't got the hair, you wear a hat. So you were smart because you left Ohio for somewhere warmer for a couple of years because the Midwest usually sucks for snow and crap.
It does.
But I did not know that's how you say Tanner's last name. I always get flubbed on it. So that makes it a little bit easier. But let me take
Tanner. I'm helping you out.
See, I'm still gonna botch it if and when I get to sit down with Tanner as well. I'll probably still botch it. And then I was talking to Vinny the other day, and I'm like, "Hey, I did something." And he's like, "What?" I got one of your boys on the show, so it works. I did one with Vinny. Y'all should go listen to the one with Vinny. That one was interesting because I think he was. I think he did it literally in his kitchen because the garage light kept the light kept going off because it's a motion light. He's like, I'm just gonna go inside. But
how long ago was that?
Oh, it's got to been maybe a year now. It's probably been a year. No, well, what was it? If episode 100, so we're almost on 200, so it's been over a year now. Because episode 100 was with Andrew Hyder, but episode 101 was Vinny, and this will be like one.
I'll go back and watch that.
This will be 189. So yeah, 89. So over a year ago, about almost a year and a half ago now, because every single week there is an episode. I am fully dedicated to being consistent on making sure there's an episode. But
it's impressive.
So going back to RX Range Day, you said it was in a range in Columbus. Was this like on this? What side of Columbus was this on?
So you everybody on this that listens to this podcast will know this range. It's Cardinal, but it was Cardinal before they put up all the dirt berms. So there was a time where Cardinal didn't have dirt berms that we see for nationals. It was so when we go to nationals or Cardinal for whatever match you go to, for whatever major match you go to, do you remember seeing the concrete walls where they have like the warm-up bays or the practice bays, whatever you want to call them?
Yep. I had to take a stroll over there. First, it was like, I've been to there for like 3 or 4 matches working in them. And I'm like, I finally drove over to the concrete crappy bays.
Yeah. So at the time, at one point in time, there was really only those concrete bays and a few other bays on the side. And at that time, they were promising to make more bays because of their vision. I didn't know their vision had to do with USPSA. I had no idea what USPSA was at the time. And I participated in that RX Range Day, which was selected attendees to train under 5 different instructors. It was all hosted by this company called Achilles Heel Tactical. And that's legitimately how I got my first dip into like just shooting sports outside of, doing it by yourself because you enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And I love what RX Range Day, and there's so many of these range days now. But I like it. It gets people out, to get some more training, right? Usually the tactical folks, but there's some people who are performance driven, like you've mentioned Donovan or Uncle Donnie, as I will call him to his face. Yes. Even though I've not taken a class with Uncle Donnie, it'll always be, "What's up, Uncle Donnie?"
Yes. Because you have to take a class from Uncle Donnie. You have to.
So we speak of this. He's actually teaching at the indoor range I spoke about. I don't know, pre-show probably, because I can't remember what I said before the recording or after the record button. But no, so Uncle Donnie in February is teaching 4 days at that range. So I'm hoping to get in the last day. It's like his, essentially it's like it's a performance class, but it's like his match performance class. So it's like a single day class. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to squeeze into that one just because it kind of fits my schedule. It's the day I already have to go to, we go set up, we shoot the match. So you get to shoot with Uncle Donnie after taking a class, and he'll probably make fun of me because I'll shoot my open gun because I only shoot open. But that's just how that goes. So no, but it's good that there's these guys in the tactical. Let me put my air quotes. If you're not listening, if you're not watching, there are air quotes happening, guys. These tactical guys who, it's good to see these people get out and get some more education, more training, instead of the dogma of, usually it's the veterans who are like, the military taught me everything I need to know about firearms. And so it's good to see people getting out and pushing themselves with these range day type things, and then finding competitive shooting, because I think competitive shooting is the way to protect our Second Amendment. It gets visibility to it. It's a good thing overall, even though we do have our own squabbles within our sport. I still do think that it's a good thing.
As everything does.
Mm-hmm.
As every niche does, right?
Yep.
There's nothing abnormal
sure.
about that.
Yep.
So these range days, like Ohio Range Day, Texas Range Day, the Florida Winter Summit that Uncle Donnie goes to, there's a lot of range days out there that do bring a lot of tactical and practical shooters together. For me, like I think one of the best parts about the shooting that we do, whatever category you fall into, is really the community. I think that we all share a common goal, we all share a common theme, and we're all pretty much like-minded, and that's why we all really get along so well. And these opportunities, like Ohio Range Day, for example, that's one of my favorite days of the year because I get the opportunity to see people, that I've met in years past, but I get to meet a lot of new people and learn from them as well. So these types of things really help us grow. And the more things we have that help us grow, the stronger we'll be in the future.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, 100%. The stronger we'll be in the future, and it's good to network. I don't know how many people I've met. It's probably more than almost on two hands of how people I've met through competitive shooting who are related into my job field, like they're customers of ours, like, and I didn't even know it. I found out, after you go out to dinner or something, or after a match, you find out, like, what do you do for a living? And then it's like, oh no shit, this world is really that much smaller.
Yeah.
But
same thing. I'll shoot a match with somebody, and then next thing you know, I'll see them in my field, and I'll be like, where do I know you from? I got to know you from somewhere. And what do you know? We had just shot a match together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that.
Right. Well, and it's like, you've always got like the people, there's always the saying like, oh, the person doesn't, usually someone doesn't want to go out and start competitive shooting because they think they're going to be so badass and good. Then they find out they're getting their ass kicked by a gynecologist, or the accountant or somebody like inconspicuous, but they're whooping
Not
their
the
ass.
Doctor. Oh no.
We do know a doctor who's pretty good. As I call him, Dr. GM Sam Patel. I think he hates when I put the Dr. GM, because it's like, I have to, Sam, but it's always fun. So you mentioned that you were you were a gymnast, and then you became a college cheerleader.
Correct.
So
everybody that's listening,
threw girls, right?
I threw girls in the air. All right, that was my job. And I'm gonna say this in the most professional way possible. All right, I'm not going to say it.
Fair
Listen,
enough.
I was never done cheerleading before, and a lot of people, including my own dad, when I called him, I was like, Dad, I made the cheerleading team. He had one question for me, and I answered it as I should. But I absolutely loved it. Becoming a college cheerleader was eye opening for me. I got to meet a lot of cool people, and I just threw girls in the air. That was my job. It was one guy to every one girl, and you just threw girls in the air. And the only reason I made the team was because I could tumble. And at the college level, there's not a lot of guys that can tumble, and most of the guys that try out for cheerleading are really ex-football players. They're all 200 to 300 pounds. They can hold girls in the air. They're extremely strong. They never knew what cheerleading was before they got to college, and they make the team and potentially get a full ride because they're extremely strong. I'm not that strong. But I could tumble, and that's why I made the team.
Yeah, so you pretty much get to go to most football games, if not all of them.
Yeah,
and then
almost all of them.
Yeah, and you get to go watch the game. I mean, and then you get to go to competitions, I'm assuming, and go win pride for your school. So it can't be that bad of a gig. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, you use your strength, and it's a good It's a good way to go to college, right?
It's a great way to go to college, and it forces you to meet people. Like, as after I graduated college, I became like a really extroverted person. Probably automotive that did that to me. But in college, I wasn't as extrovert of a human as I am today. And cheerleading forced me to get out in the community and talk to people and get to know people that I've probably never would have talked to a day in my life. And here I learned how to talk to women, right? Because that's part of my job. It was every day I had to learn how to effectively communicate with everybody.
Right.
And I loved it, man. I would do it all over again if I could.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good, right. And there's sometimes some people nowadays, they don't even know how to effectively communicate with people. Like they get nervous about having a teleconference like at work or, you know, just in general in public. They don't know how to interact with people. I mean, I'll say this about kids today. It's like you watch them grow up
Yeah.
and kids who went through, you know, they were in like younger elementary school when they went through COVID. They don't know how to hardly interact with people. They're so socially awkward because they missed school for so long and then it was all online. It's just like,
Yeah.
we went back like 5 years, people. Like we lost this. And it's hard to explain to the young ones around me that it's like, you might not like the conversation we have, but we still need to have it. So you can't just run away from it. There's no fleeing these bad social interactions.
Yeah. Listen, like a life skill that you have to have, uh, especially depending on what field you work in, you need to be able to communicate well with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope we find that for our kids someday is they get the opportunity to figure out how to effectively communicate and how to professionally communicate. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to make all the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And if we can get that back and be able to communicate more effectively with people, it's going to build a better generation. Like I will be one of those people. I'm still scared to send the send button on like a corporate like level email. I'm just like, yeah, someone read this before I send it because it sounds right in here, but it doesn't always make sense. Like I want to make sure that it doesn't sound like I'm being an asshole on the other
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. I just use
Well,
ChatGPT for all that now. God
yeah.
bless it.
Well, usually I'll send it to my direct supervisor and be like, "Hey, does that sound good? Oh yeah, you're fine. Okay, send." Well, it's usually and the problem is it's usually like there's an email that relates, you know, to my boss, his boss, and then like to our customer, directly to the customer. I'm like, am I sharing enough with the customer without actually giving them every detail they need to know? But yet I'm effectively communicating. And so I'm always like, I can send internal emails all day long because I work with these people all day long, but it's like those external ones, I'm just like, yeah, someone else read these, please. I don't want to lose my job for saying something I shouldn't have said. But
Here on the
it,
same note, what about all the people that don't want to go on the podcast because they're afraid to communicate live or online?
oh, I've had so many, like, I'll say this, I've had so many podcast virgins on the show, but I'm okay with it because as I treat this, it's a conversation about, like, I'd probably have this conversation with anybody sitting on the range, drinking a beer afterwards, you know, or at lunch after a match. And that's how I take it. I mean, just the fact that you're sitting and looking at a web camera or your screen and it's being captured for everyone else to enjoy it that's what it's all about is like just the community and the simple conversation. Even though we probably will talk some in-depth things about training or shooting or whatnot, it's more about just us, the human social interaction that we get. And that's, and soon as people understand, like, and I say that, and like, I don't know if it's in my up to dated, you know, hey, are you interested? Form letter essentially.
Yeah.
But I try to make it as chill as possible without, being too scary. But
Yeah. Especially
I,
for gun guys.
yeah, yeah, gun guys who will love to talk about guns in, you know, their shooting and everything. And that's where it's the fun thing is like you break down some of the barriers between people, like, or there's people you'd never meet on the range, right? I don't always talk to the M's and the A, you know, the masters and the grandmasters. I'll talk to a CD class guy in here from time to time because they run a business or they've got something connecting them to the shooting sports where it makes sense to talk to them. And everyone's got a different perspective on things too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like there's the guys like at the national level, like Christian Seiler, who probably has never worked a major match in his life, but then I will sit down and talk to probably one of the most knowledgeable people over about running matches or being a match staff person ever. And there's going to be two completely different conversations that someone's going to glean multiple things out of each conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So back to your practical shooting. So you said you kind of after RX range day, you got into it. You know, you and Tanner went. Um, did you? How long did it take you to sign up for your first local? Well, let me back up. My brain is not firing on all three cylinders today. It's only running on two. But
All
so
three
you said
cylinders.
you said you met Uncle Donnie at RX range day. Is that
Ah,
line up?
I can't remember if I met Donovan at RX Range Day. I may have met him at Ohio Range Day. It's hard to exactly say. I ended up taking a class from him
Mm-hmm.
before I got into practical shooting from a guy. This name isn't very popular anymore. It was back in the day, back in 2019, 2020. there was a guy named Paul Bolito, black iron gunner, really popular in the tactical shooting sport.
Where did he go? I
He
looked him up
lives
the
near
other day.
me.
Yeah, he's like in the
Great guy.
Cleveland area.
Yeah, he's in the Cleveland area. He ended up having a few kids, and his priorities are aligned with his kids, which I applaud. And he made that decision to no longer be a part of the shooting community. His Instagram still exists. Occasionally, you'll see him pop on a story every now and then. But he did respectfully fall off, and I took a class from him. And it was a collaboration class between him and Donovan. It wasn't practical shooting at all. It was like a performance pistol class before Donovan was into teaching practical shooting, right? Because there was a time where he didn't teach practical shooting. It was all more tactics and performance pistol. So I took a performance pistol class and rifle class. It was 2 days from those guys. It was a good class, and that was my first opportunity with Donovan. And then shortly after that, I signed up for his Ohio appreciation class. It's probably months later that I signed up for his Ohio appreciation class at his range. And that's where I was introduced to practical shooting. So actually in between, just so you know, I took the Black Iron Gunner .1 Tactics collaboration class. Somewhere in the middle, Tanner and I go and shoot our first steel match. I had no idea what it entailed. Somewhere in the middle, we shot our first steel match. The steel match got me hooked on wanting more of practical shooting. I didn't know that existed. And then Tanner and I were like, hey, let's go check out this Ohio appreciation class. And at the time, Tanner and I had matching staccatos. It was on accident. They were both built by Monsoon Tactical. We paid for them. We were customers of Monsoon, and they were matching M81, the original M81 staccato Ps with the chunk port. And it was by pure accident we got matching guns. We didn't even know each other when we got these built. And we went to Donovan's range and we shot these staccatos. We had a blast. Man, we thought we were good, but we really sucked. And we had so much fun. And it was probably because one of the main reasons was we also got an Airbnb with like 7 of the guys that were there, including Pete. And at the time, Pete had just made masterclass in carry optics, and Tanner and I had no idea what that meant. And the entire training class, Donovan referenced Pete as Master P, and Tanner and I were like, "Wow, we want that. We want that. Like what he has and what he acquired and what he worked hard to get. We want that." And that really was like what kicked off the practical shooting journey for Tanner and myself, was going to the Ohio appreciation training day, 2 training days at Donovan's range and witnessing what those guys were doing. Oh man, that was so much fun. And then Pete cooked the steaks. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Pete's really into cooking.
See, this is why Pete and I need to sit, because we could sit and talk. I love, like, my passion. Like, I love this sport, but my passion is cooking. Like, so Pete, you're getting called out, bro. Like, we got to talk about a lot of things. We don't even have to talk about shooting. We can talk about cooking. But it looks like Pete makes it.
There it is.
He cooks a damn good steak. If you watch, like, I watch the pictures, it's like, damn. And I don't know. I think I saw him at Kentucky. He was shooting with Michael at the Kentucky match this year, and I'm like, "How was that steak?" And he was like, "Oh, it's pretty good." It's like,
that's funny. He has a sponsor from Wyoming Meat Market, and they supplied us steaks for I can't remember if it was Area 5 or Buckeye Blast. It was one of the matches at Cardinal where I have an RV, a camper, and I'll bring my camper to Cardinal, and then like Pete, Tanner, and myself, us 3 dudes will stay in the camper together. And if it's a 3-day match, it's the best, or a 2-day match, it's the best. And you stay the night in the camper. Pete cooks you a steak, and then you go shoot. It's the best. It's the best. And there's a 10 out of 10 chance we'll drink too many White Claws and party on top of the camper or something.
Yeah, I want to think. Maybe it was Buckeye Blast, or maybe it was Area 5. I don't know. I think because T-Bone was probably there, and and oh God, Robbie, Robbie Torres.
Oh my God, Robbie was there too. It was either Area 5 or Carry Optics Nationals. I think it was Area 5. Carry Optics Nationals, I think Robbie missed.
I saw him there because I went and watched AM on Saturday. So I watched the Super Squad go through Zone 2.
He missed one of them, but the one that he came, the other ones that he came to was me and my RV, and right next to me was him.
Right, because he just got an RV.
Obviously, have a good time together. Yeah,
because he bought an RV like right before Buckeye Blast. I want to say it was right before Buckeye Blast. He did. I don't know. I'll have to go back and I'll ask him tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll ask him tomorrow because I'll see him.
The whole year is a blur when it comes to matches.
Oh, I know. It just starts at Buckeye Blast and then it doesn't stop until it hits October. It goes.
It went too fast. Fast.
I was just telling the wife today, like we got up, I cooked breakfast, and then I'm like, it was after dinner. I'm like, where the fuck did the day go? Like it was just gone. Like, I mean, for the most part, I sat in front of my computer, did like match work and stuff, but I was like, Lord have mercy, like the day is gone. But yeah, what were we? Oh, we were talking about Pete steak. Oh, and in Illinois at the Ohio Appreciation Day, he cooked you all steaks because you stayed with everybody. And he was Master Pete.
Master P.
But the cool thing about McHenry or Miss or Alpha, whatever they call it, or whatever the event is happening there, it's like that place is cool. Like it's a little tiny it's like a 2-bay place, and they cram everything in there, and they can have a full match. It's crazy.
Yeah. And what makes the difference is they use those TA target, bullet catches that are on wheels, and they're so easy to move around. Man, it allows you to shoot like 180 degrees in a range that you never thought you'd be able to shoot like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd be able to, but you can, and they have a lot of high quality shooters come out of that range. Like before Donovan, there was Les Kiss Martoni, Max Clack comes out of there. Like there's a lot of good shooters in the Chicago area because there's nothing to do other than either shoot on the streets or shoot inside. I'm in a couple group chats of people like they're called the Chicago Gunslingers, and I'm friends with most of them. So it's like they're like, oh look, there's another XYZ happened over here. I'm like, oh great. I'm just listening to them. Like they're like, oh, we found bullets on that. Like, and usually it's people being stupid, people shooting off guns into the air, and like bullets just landing on people's roofs and stuff. It's just like, people, Lord. But it's cool because Donovan pushed himself there. He's a master from concealment, which is amazing. Like not a lot of people can say they can do that. Even after these rules that are not advantageous for people who shoot AIWB at matches.
Right.
But he's learned and he knows how to stay him. He knows how not to DQ himself. That's one of the
drama right there.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they do fix the rules. I saw the rules audit. I think they're still going to work on it. It'll probably be. Let's hopefully they because they can't really change rules about once a year on their rule audit. So hopefully the board comes to a consensus and then votes about changing those rules or rewarding those rules.
Yeah. Personally, I hope it falls in favor of shooting AIWB.
Yeah, I think it would. I think the problem I think is the verbiage of how those two rules are about it. I just wish if they cleaned it up, made it make more sense, or even put examples in there to make it. These are the conditions that must be met to apply this rule, or just axe the rule altogether. Like I understand the drawing up range rule because I understand it but it doesn't help. That rule is made more for the guy standing at 180 with his 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock holster, standing there and pointing the gun at range before they actually turn their hips and draw. It's the gaming that doesn't need to be gamed, guys. Like some of those, like you just being 45 degrees down range of drawing your gun, then turning your hips, you're going to be fine. So, but you don't have that with AIWB.
Not to stay on this topic because, it's very controversial and a lot of drama came out of the situations that evolved in 2024. But you'll hear me say this a lot. There are things that are good for the sport and will help the sport expand. Opening it to AIWB will help the sport expand. There are so many people that want to shoot practical shooting, but they don't want to go buy a full belt rig and a competition belt and all these things from Double Alpha and then a competition holster. They just want to shoot what they have. And for you to shoot with what you have, sometimes that's just from concealment.
Oh, absolutely. They're probably smarter because they don't have to spend $50 or $60 on a belt.
Belts are expensive.
$75, like your howitzer belt. I don't even know what that costs, but like a double alpha mag pouch is $70. If you want a Henning, that's $100. You want that Henning? You want the Henning hanger?
T1000.
That's $150.
T1000.
Well,
And then
180.
I have the big dog steel holster. That thing's expensive too. Or any of the North Coast tactical. Everything adds up. And I just like if I could just shoot with an AIWB holster at a level 1,
mm-hmm.
man, that opens it up.
Yeah. Well,
no
when
excuses.
when you don't feel like putting on your pants, like it's like when you don't feel on putting on your pants kind of mood. It's just like you could just be shoot AIWB. That's like,
yeah.
Some people are like, you should shoot AIWB with your open gun. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have a whole
stick that in my pants.
Exactly. I'm not sticking that anywhere in my pants.
There are guns I will not stick in my pants, and that is one of them.
Somebody dropped something in the room over there, but that's all good. Yeah, I was looking up. So we mentioned Paul, Big Iron Gunner. I was looking him up the other day. I'm like, where did he go? I'm just like, I remember him and when Big when I first got into competition shooting earlier, like in 2020 and 2019. Modern Samurai Project, Jedi. He was talking always about him, or Paul was talking about him, and I was like, where did this guy go? And I'm like, and the coolest thing was he was a trash man. He worked in the sanitation industry for his town. I'm like, that's fucking cool. And he just was able to bang away on steel. It was always good. But
yeah.
So Tanner always shot staccatos then?
No. Oh man, Tanner's actually, most people go through a little bit of a gun journey when they start shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can't decide what gun they want to shoot, and some things feel better in their hands, and they always have that vision that is like, if I buy that gun, I might be 2% better,
mm-hmm.
right? And so that sticks in your head. Now, was it like that for Tanner and I at the beginning? Absolutely. But Tanner's was a little different. He kept buying a gun and it having hundreds of problems. And so he would just sell it and buy a different one. So, he started with his Staccato P. It put him in open minor. That caused us to immediately want to get out of Staccato Ps, right? He switched from a Staccato P to an M&P. Those are pretty hot throughout our community, right? Like, because Donovan shoots one, everybody wants to shoot like Uncle Donnie. So we got him. He got an M&P, light strikes every 5 rounds, and we couldn't figure it out. We had sent it to a gunsmith, still couldn't figure out why it was getting light strikes every 5 rounds. Switched to a Shadow 2. The Shadow 2, he actually wrote out for a while. It was from the company that was bought by Impact Machine. They had that really low SRO cut on the...
Was that the one with the 2 screws on the side? Oh, God. What was that? Oh, Fire for Effect. That's what it was.
Fire for Effect. So he bought a complete Fire for Effect CZ Shadow 2. Man, that thing was cool. And he ran that until he was really close to making GM in carry optics. And that's when they came out with limited optics, and he went back to Staccato.
Yeah.
And so then he had a Staccato something. No, he got an original STI. He got 2 of them.
Oh, dang.
Mr. Patel, Dr. Sam Patel, sold him one.
Yeah.
And it was great guns. And then he ended up trading those for a Staccato XL Island barrel from Austin. And that new gun he has is pretty nice. It's actually extremely nice. So full circle, we started with Staccato Ps, and he's gone full circle, and he's back with a Staccato in limited optics.
Yeah, and he's killing it. He's crushing it locally in the local scene.
Definitely. 2025 is going to be great for him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think when I first met you was at 2023 Buckeye Blast, and you were still shooting that purple M&P, weren't you?
No, the purple. It was a purple Shadow 2.
Oh, and was Pete shooting the M&P? Who was shooting the purple M&P?
He has a purple M&P.
Okay, that's what it was. That's right. You guys were on the same squad, and I'm like,
yep.
I don't know. I think I told you your gun looked better than his, but we won't tell. we won't tell Vinny that. It's funny because Vinny just messaged me a minute ago. He just messaged.
I forgot to mention the Shadow 2 that Tanner bought, the Fire for Effect one. He sold it to somebody. That somebody sold it to somebody else, and then I just bought it from him. Like
With like
I don't
3
know how
rounds
long
put
ago.
through it, right?
Yeah, who freaking Tanner sent that thing to the ringer. But I bought it because it's a really cool gun, and obviously fire for effect isn't a thing anymore. So it's really cool. Somebody's borrowing it right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing is like that you can trace these guns like Andrew Hyder, right?
Oh, of course, of
So
course.
Andrew, when I first met Andrew, he had a gun called Sprinkles. When he was back with Infinity, it was a stainless gun and it had their blast coating, and it had ice cream cones on it. And that gun, I have known to know 6 different owners, and I met somebody at Kentucky in 2024 this year. I saw that gun and I'm like, I took a picture. And I'm like, I'm staring this gun down because this is like a 1 in a million gun. And I'm like, because I asked him later, I'm like, did anyone else get this coat, like this job on this gun? He's like, no, I'm the only one. I'm like, so I snapshot the gun and I'm like, I found something of yours. So I hooked the guy up, I hooked the current owner up with Andrew, and the guy didn't realize how many rounds were actually on that Infinity. Like, there's probably over 100,000 rounds just from me. So whoever told you there was like 50,000 rounds is wrong.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, I tracked and I was just like, holy shit, that fucking gun is that one gun. I was like, damn. But it's those iconic guns that, those iconic looking guns. Those are the ones you remember, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you don't want to give them up, but sometimes you have to. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Shadow 2 came back around, but I'm a little bit of a Shadow 2 whore. I mean, I have 6 Shadow 2s now, and Vinny's blessed me by taking care of so many of them for me
Mm-hmm.
that I'm addicted to buying more Shadow 2s in hopes that Vinny will do another gun for me.
Yeah, well, you just got,
And
now it'd be cool if you got a hard chrome Shadow too.
that would be cool. Here, that might be in the works. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who
I,
knows?
I would that would be really cool. A colored case hardened Shadow 2 though. That'd be pretty sweet too though.
That would be pretty sick too. Who knows, man?
Yeah, so
Go ahead. Go
go.
ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish that.
Here, I was going to say the frame of the Shadow 2 is such a big platform to do whatever you want to that it's basically like a canvas, right? Like you
Mm.
know what the Shadow 2 is. The frame, like the dust cover itself, is bigger than most guns, and so it's endless possibilities with how much fun you can have with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can do whatever you want with them. Uh it's just, and it's so cool that people get creative. Like Vinny, I love watching. I'm fortunate I am not a customer yet of Monsoon Tactical, but I love seeing Vinny's page and the cool things that they do there. I don't know, like his anime print, like his anime color, like that paint job on a gun is super cool. I love
Yeah,
looking at that.
he calls it a initial D.
Yeah, initial D. I mean,
Yeah,
it's bitching. Like
I have one of his guns that are initial D. I love it. That's my purple one. That's my purple one.
yeah. See, and it's
And
such a cool, unique. Like nobody can replicate. I mean, somebody could replicate it, but it wouldn't be as good as
right,
a monsoon job. And I just like watching. I like watching Vinny talk though too, right? Like as much when he gets on there being goofy or something, he's in the car or he's just shooting like a ding dong. It's fun. It's and
yep,
that's
yep,
and that's what people forget. Like we're super into this sport and dedicated. Um, we forget about having fun sometimes, right? Like,
absolutely,
and that's the hard
absolutely.
part.
When the Vinny content comes out, you're going to get a little smile because he's always having fun. He's enjoying what he's doing, so you get to see his content come online on Instagram, and he's going to put a smile on your face because something he's doing is not normal.
Yeah, right. Or you're just watching him and you watch him smoke a stogie as he's mag dumping this
Yes,
gun into like an itty bitty berm on this this target on this itty bitty berm, and
as he's throwing .1 splits with a staccato C single stack
in his jorts.
in his jorts. Exactly, exactly.
There's always this the fun aspect of it that I love, that people, they take themselves seriously enough but they don't take themselves too seriously to not do fun things.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a hoot. So when did you officially get wrapped up on Team Monsoon?
Man, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that. Um, it's probably been 2 full seasons now, right? Tanner and I have always shot together, and Pete has always been with us when the opportunity presents itself since he lives so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
He's
and
in
two,
Southern Ohio, isn't he?
yeah, Southwest Ohio. So he's about 3 hours from myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It might be 4 hours. I don't know.
It's a long way.
I don't know. It's a long way. It's the other side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically West Virginia or Kentucky or whatever's over there. Um, so 2 seasons ago, Vinny approached us. Vinny's one of our friends, always has been, and approached Pete, Tanner, and myself and said, "Hey, yeah, I want to explore. I want to explore my own shooting team and name it Team Monsoon. Would you
Mm-hmm.
three guys want to be a part of that?" And obviously, it was very easy for us to say yes because representing Vinny, who we love, and getting to shoot even more opportunities alongside the two guys that I love being with, even outside of shooting, yeah, no brainer, right? So it's been about 2 full seasons with Team Monsoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about it is having your team and being part of a team. And you guys are a team, right? Like you guys roll together,
Yep,
you match, you
always.
you dedicate the same shirts that you got going on. And they're always
That's
pretty.
right.
They're always pretty cool looking. I don't know. You on shirt 2 or 3 now? Like shirt
We're on.
designs.
So you know what? That's the best way to answer this. We are working on season 3 logo right now.
Okay.
So that's the best. That's funny. That we each year we say, hey, do we want to do another logo for the following year? That we've been. I can confidently say we've been in 2 full seasons. We have season 1 logo, which is something we had somebody put together quickly. Season 2 logo, we paid quite a bit of money for an artist to design us like 5 different things, and we
Mm-hmm.
picked one of them. And then season 3 logo, that same artist, I paid him about 3 weeks ago, and he's putting together another 5 designs for us. And that's something that we're probably going to do for as long as we exist. Is every season come up with a new logo and release it at the very beginning of the season. We think it's really fun. It's unique. It's part of this shooting sports that you don't get to see very often. People hang on to their logos for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's how you create a brand. But
Mm-hmm.
we like the art behind it, and it kind of represents Vinny and his art. So yeah, we're working on season 3 logo right now.
See, and that's the cool thing, right? Like, yes, there is the brand, but then there's also you mix it up a little bit, right? Like, I, I feel a little pigeonholed because I'm a little pigeonholed into my design on my logo because everyone's used to it now. It's almost been 200 episodes of
Yeah,
the show, and I'm just like,
create an image, create a brand. Yeah,
yeah, it's just like I'd love to change it and mix it up a little bit, but I'm also like, I would change it because I like to change and go with the flow, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's tried and true. Everyone knows what it looks like right now. There are off spins of it. Like there's a green and black version, which is super cool. Like you've seen people with those 3D printed essentially covers for their paster guns now, right? Like over the internet.
yeah.
I finally
I
got
want one. I
one.
need one.
Oh, I got the guy's info if you want it.
Yeah.
But I have it, and it's the green and black Manny Talk Shooting logo. I'm like, yeah, and if you can't tell, I like green and I like black.
Yeah,
Like black is okay, but it's really like the bright ass neon green. Like
yeah.
it gets my fizz going. Like
I love that.
I
I
used
love
to
that.
be like a big OD green guy. Now this is honestly, I think this is my favorite color. It's called Canopy Green from Yeti.
Hmm.
The color, well, and it's probably because I'm wearing these active blues, so everything looks bluer. But this color is
Yeah.
like legit my favorite. In person, this is money. But never to say. But I like neon green. So if somebody got me anything in neon green, I probably would really like it. Never get rid of it because it's like the right color. Um,
Yeah. Hold
and
on.
that's
Side note. Side note. Hold on. Hold on. I just got my first pair of active blues. I gotta show you. I'm excited.
although see,
I'm
and
pretty
those are
excited.
cool.
I'm gonna wear these. They're Ray-Ban Club Masters, which
Okay,
is
are
like
those the same as those
soup.
frames that were on your face?
Yeah. They're the
Yeah.
same. They're the same frame.
See,
I love
see,
these things.
I love Active Blue. Like Brian sent me a pair. This is actually my second pair because I really couldn't handle the first set. I have a weird shaped head, like, and I would get super headaches wearing those other frames. But I wear these. But the lenses are big on my face, which I'm not a big fan of. But
I mean,
I
they
like
look
the
really
blue.
good on you. They look
Well,
good. They
I,
look good.
I,
Some
I
people
wear.
like small frame, but those look good.
Yeah, they're not terrible, but I'm traditionally like about half the size on a lens. But I love these. I wear them every day, unless I'm at work, and then I wear my rubies. No, not my rubies. My golds. I actually had to prove to my EH&S personnel that I could wear Hunter's HD Gold in the facility as a safety lens because it wasn't. It's photochromic, but it's not gray based photochromic. And OSHA specifically calls out gray based photochromics. Hunter's HD
Wow.
Gold is a brown base, not a gray.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yep.
that.
So these are
Oh,
actually gray based photochromics. So I couldn't wear these to work, but I could wear my golds. So
I did not know that. This is my third pair of Hunters, and I'm quite proud. This
I,
is my first pair of blues.
So the funny part is, like, their phrase, they change so you don't have to. I've got a gold set, a red set, and a blue set. Like I have the same, like I have the problem that you told me not to worry about. Like I don't know
Yeah,
which ones to wear,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's usually how it goes.
I love them. I have two yellows. I actually have the goofiest frames for one of my yellows.
Hmm.
They're somewhere in this garage. I'll break those out here in a second. Um, and then I have like what you're wearing now. Are those
Hmm.
like the aviator, like a
Yeah,
aviator style?
yeah, that's an AV.
Yeah, I have those. I have those, and then I have. I'm not exaggerating. The goofiest frame you'll probably ever see for my other pair, and I don't know where I put them. Um, man, if I remember where these are at, I will. I'll break them out for you. But they're you know what son of a gun, I can't even remember the name. You know what? If I remember where they're at, I'll text my girlfriend to grab them. Pit vipers. They're pit vipers.
Oh yeah, the flip up pit viper ones.
They're not the flip ups. They're like the. Where did I put these things? Ryan, you son of a gun.
But we all
It'll
know,
come to me.
yeah, it'll be like, oh, they're in the bathroom in under the sink or something, like some weird obscure spot where they really shouldn't be. But yeah, and it's okay to have, it's okay to be fun, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like when I think of another guy I think of who's silly who deals with monsoon is Austin, right? Austin
Oh
Pews,
yeah.
like the
Of course he's silly.
but then he got that. What did he get? He got that Damascus frame. No, it's a Damascus slide looking
Yep.
Caspian framed 2011, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
he gets all his guns built by somebody locally in collaboration with Monsoon often. It's a Damascus. It's like a 1911. It's like a traditional 1911 uh, like slide, but the frame itself is from a 2011, and it doesn't. And it has its own proprietary 2011 mag, so you can't even use like an Atlas mag in it, which
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
Um, but pay attention because that gun's going to change here soon, and I can't tell you because you'll get mad at me.
I'm excited to
But
see that again. Like
yeah, that
he
gun's
can
going to change here
shred.
soon.
I just wish he
Oh
would
yeah,
like actually put like. I wish he would shoot like matches. More
for sure.
like go to like even if he doesn't like he lives in Ohio for fuck's sake. Like be a member and go shoot. The Buckeye Blast and have a hoot. Like and just be a goofball. Like we all know you're
Yeah,
good. Like that's what I'd like to see. I want everybody like in my world. I want everyone to compete. I want there to be a million spaces in every match so everybody can participate. And enjoy the fun of the sport, right? Like that's my
Austin's
goal.
coming around. Austin's
Yeah.
coming around. We shot together on Friday and we set up like 6 stages at DSS. And he's coming around. Eventually, he's going to come out and shoot more matches.
Yeah.
Eventually, eventually.
Eventually, we'll just wear him down.
Yeah, don't hold your breath too long though.
Yeah, there you go. But but yeah, it's so fun. And when I think of Austin, I think of pit vipers as well. Just like these big glasses on his
Yep.
face and.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Vinny messaged me because I'm trying to sucker him into sponsoring one or two matches in Ohio at the Cardinal Center. So I'm just like, he's asking me a couple questions. So which is fun because I am also like the sponsorship coordinator for most of the matches there. Like
Tell him I said hi.
Oh, I'll tell him. Well, he knew we were recording tonight, but
Oh, then never mind. Don't tell him. I would think
yeah.
that'd be funny. He'd be like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, what do you mean Ryan says I? But no, dealing with the sponsorships, it's like, yeah, I want to try to get everything done before January 1. So people like you who go to register for these matches, like, you can if you get a slot, you get a slot or whatnot, and instead of having to like refund or deal with all that nightmare, it's just like, yeah, there's your free slot before the match, and and
January 1st is going to be expensive.
yes, and that's the thing I don't like about major match season is everyone goes live on January 1st because they don't want to really do any accounting from 24 into 25, and they want to make it equitable for everybody. But you're also hurting like your chances of taking money. But I understand for Buckeye Blast because it is in May. You need to take money in January.
Yeah.
And
For
but
Buckeye Blast, it makes sense.
yes, every match that starts like that's in September or August that opens in January, I'm like, couldn't have done it like in February. Like, give me at least 1 month to stop the bleeding.
Or can it not be January 1st? Can we wait? Like, now here, like, I have no problem. Like, if you want to go out on January 1st, I got to pay. Here, if I got to pay for all my majors for the entire year on January 1st, let me just get it out of the way and I get a slot. Sweet, whatever.
Right.
But, like, that could really make it so some people that want to shoot every match, but they can't because that's a lot of money on day one. Rent is due on January 1st, right? Like
Yep.
all my bills are due on January 1st. So that's tough. Like what can't separate it by one pay period? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for checking out another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, please go patronize our partners when you are available. We have always, as the title sponsor, D2 Custom Guns. We've got Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, 2 Alpha Apparel, Range Panda, Laugh and Load, Hunter's HD Gold, and Southern Bobby Q. Now, thank you. Let's get on with this episode. A pay period.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, you knew, you probably went to a couple Battle of the North Coast, right?
Oh, of course.
Or like you sign up and then eventually you pay. It's like, it's like
I got DQ'd there too.
Oh God. That was you. I remember I think our first, that was our first interaction, I think
probably was.
I think I was like, oh, what the fuck did he, I was probably one of those people like, what the fuck did he see?
Oh man, I was so upset. And it wasn't that I didn't get to shoot the rest of the match. Like, being part of DSS, you kind of want to be able to impress Scott. Mm-hmm. And that was my first time ever shooting in the same squad as Scott. Ever. And since I DQ'd on the first stage, I didn't even get a chance to show him like all the shit that I've been learning from his range. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty upsetting.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And you not to cause too much drama, but you have had interactions with this person in the past, if I remember right from that. That's what, at least, it's what, 2 years ago, wasn't this, at least?
I think that was 2 years ago, right? Because they didn't have Battle of the North Coast this year. Mm-hmm. So it was the previous year. We're coming up on basically 2 years of that DQ. Here, I told you there isn't a topic I'm not afraid to talk of, mm-hmm. especially this one. That RO and I have made amends. He is a really nice guy. Mm-hmm. And I've shot with him many times in the past. That was the third occasion that he DQ'd me. Mm-hmm. And the third occasion that he DQ'd me, and I got to witness him give leniency to others. The footage is there. Anybody can see it. It was upsetting, but to get past things in life, you have to forgive some people, and we hugged it out. And then the next match he RO'd for me, I shot my first 100% classifier, and I made M that day. Mm-hmm. And so it was like at the very beginning. It was like the first level 1 match of this year was the very next opportunity that I saw him, and we made amends. So that's good news.
Yes, and that is good. I mean, and when there are people, in the sport, people are gonna have beef with. Like, I know I have beef with certain people that one day I hope that they can be bigger people and actually start talking to me again. But I don't hold any grudges anymore. Like, they don't hold any space in my brain. Over that stuff, I'm just like, it happens and moves on. Like, if it's meant to be, it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm a pretty nice person for the most part until you do like screw me over, and then I'm like, I can be your problem, but I never try to be somebody's problem in that instance.
Yeah. Here, but this is going to sound terrible for me to say, and somebody's going to be upset that I said this, but if you have any sport, a little bit of drama is good publicity, mm-hmm. right? Because people outside of your sport or even within your sport want to know about what's happening, especially if there was something negative that happened. I don't know what we have as humans that make us want to hear bad news sometimes, but a little bit of drama creates some fire in your sport. Now, too much drama is a bad thing, right? It can cause mm-hmm. a lot of problems. But a little bit of drama keeps everybody on their toes and keeps everybody keen, like paying attention to what's happening. And then it gets people from the outside of your sport saying, what's happening inside that sport? I want to know more.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then you get those guys who are like sport adjacent, like they're sport adjacent. Yeah. They figure it out. Like, and then you get more people, you get people involved, right? Like, I even locally, like you might have your guys who only shoot DSS, right? But they hear about some scuttlebutt that happens at Crooked Creek, and then they decide, I'm going to go shoot some Crooked Creek matches. Like, even if it's good or bad, right? They heard about this awesome stage at Crooked Creek, and then they go shoot those matches, right? And then you grow and you You build the local community. Like forever, I will say this, and one of my buddies, Skylar Davis, even says it now. It's like we talked about it today. But for a while there was no big dogs in Michigan, right? Like we had one GM. He was a limited GM from back in the 90s, right? And then we finally got a GM. And then we finally got another GM. And it's like, oh, we're finally getting, really good contenders up here, right? We which is nice because we're building these guys up, and that's the good thing is like people find out about good matches and they go to them.
Mhm.
So and that's the nicety is like you hear about things in certain matches, right? Like you'd probably never go to some of these majors that you go to now if you didn't hear about somebody's good or bad experience at that match. So you wanted to go try it out for yourself. Like you probably would never go to Florida if you didn't other than it's warm down there right now and
Exactly.
you can actually shoot. But
Exactly.
if you didn't have a friend who went down there, it's like, oh, it's a nice time to go, and you wouldn't have gone or in the first place.
Exactly. Or why am I shooting Delmarva, South Carolina, and Michigan this year? It's because of all the good things that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want to go. They're going to be good matches. I've never experienced it, but multiple people have told me that they're going to be good matches, and all the like not the drama, but the buzz around those. I have to go. I have to go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something hard, I will say, is to get it's either word of mouth or well, it's all social media really. And that's how people share it. It might be the local guys tell each other locally, but yeah, that's the hard thing is to build a matchup with good experiences so people tell their friends, you need to go shoot this match. And that's in social media has helped so much because you can see a video and like, oh, that stage is pretty cool. You might have sucked at running the stage, but that stage was awesome, Jake Jay Slater and David Riddle of the Casual Shooter podcast and Shooting Sports Analytics, the drone cams they do of major match coverage, right? Like Area 5 they had it, Western PA they had it, which was super cool because that tells a story and makes people like, that's cool, I want to go to that match, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I don't know if you said it, you went to like 10 or 12 major matches this year. Probably planning on doing just as many in 2025. You said what?
I think more.
North Florida Championship is what, 2-3 weeks?
It's the Florida State Championship. It's on January. It's the weekend of January 17th, 18th, 20th area.
Okay, so you got about a couple weeks.
I do, but I'm actually going to go. I'm actually going to fly there on the 6th.
Okay.
And my grandma's a snowbird. She moves there every January. And so I'm going to go with my grandma on January 6th, help her move in. And then I'm trying my best to schedule between the 6th and the 20th, at least, 5 to 7 days worth of training in Florida prior to the match. And so far I've got a couple things that should be solidified. Like I signed up for two locals. I DM'd Tom Castro for a private. I'm taking the pre-match class with a guy named Ashton Hammond. He's a local there. And then I think I also talked to JJ about a private as well.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. There's a lot of locals in Florida, man. And the heat in Florida is no joke. Not the temperature, the shooters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hot. Like, Ashton Hammond, he came up out of nowhere. He's one of those guys I need to sit down and talk to. Like, he's been killing it in open lately, which is cool to see. That's the cool thing. You never meet some of these people if it wasn't for social media and the niche sport that we have, right? Like that's the cool thing is
exactly.
You meet all these people, but you're able to, shoot all this stuff. You're going to go help your grandma, which is commendable. I don't know if I'd ever help my grandmother move anywhere, but unfortunately both of mine are passed. But like they had too much shit. Like we live up here in the cold. There's basements. People have too much crap. It's like I don't want to. Like I don't ever want to.
Basement has so much shit.
Much.
I just went yesterday. She got so much shit, man.
This is why you need movers and big old U-Hauls.
Yeah. You're speaking on Florida. On the 16th, T-Bone comes to town. Tanner comes to town. My brother is dipping his toes into practical shooting. It's his first major ever. He's coming to Florida. And we all got an Airbnb in downtown Orlando together. So, man, it's going to be a good time.
You going to go to Disney?
Probably not.
Come on, you got to fit it. You got to tell them we're going to Disney. Damn it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Remember, I lived there. I want nothing to do with Disney.
You got a pair of Disney. You got a pair of Mickey Mouse ears somewhere.
Oh, dude, without a doubt in my mind. Remember, as a cheerleader, we had this thing called the Disney Worldwide of Sports, where every competition was hosted at Disney. So I was at Disney like twice a month, like two full weekends a month, working, doing some nonsense, and like, man, you get sick of Disney real quick when you have to be there for like 3 years straight, every two weekends a month.
Yeah, I could imagine that. I haven't gone. I think I was 6 years old or 7 years old when I went to Disney. I can't believe the people who go as adults, like every other, like once a month, they live in Florida. Like, I mean, I understand like the Florida people, right? Like they get the cheap passes and they just go, but they're like Disney. They're a Disney adults. I'm like, there's not that much shit to keep going back to Disney, guys. Now, don't tell me.
You know how we collect like Hunter's HD lenses.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 3 pairs, I have 3 pairs, and it's not. We're not going to stop at 3. You know, I have a lot of Disney local friends that are so obsessed with the collectibles at Disney that you can only get if you go. Like that's the only reason they'll go spend 6 hours there is because they want the Disney collectible, whatever it is. I don't even, back in the day it used to be pins, and I don't know what it is now. I have no idea what it is now.
Probably freaking Disney Pop Funkos or something. Like
probably.
God, I couldn't believe like. You know what a Pop Funko is, right? Like the little,
of
like,
course.
I'm like, people collect them and keep them in the boxes. I'm like, one, they would never live in the boxes at my house. I would just set them on a shelf. Like I would open it and set it on the shelf and be like lame, but it loses all collectible value at that point. But if I can't use something, I get rid of it. Like, you remember like in COVID, there was that chick who was like, if it doesn't bring you joy, you need to get rid of it on Netflix.
Yeah.
People need to get back to that shit because like, rid of all your shit, grandma. But
yeah, I'm opposite of Pack Rat. Like I can't stand having shit. So like,
right, like
if I've used it a few months, I'm tossing it. It's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, I'll let it sit for a minute and then I'll move it around the shelf or something. Like move it around a little while, and then I'm like, I haven't touched this in a year. It's time to go. Like I probably could get rid of shit a little bit quicker, but that's the hard part.
Kryptonite is tools, though.
Yeah, you can't get rid of tools.
Get rid of tools.
As soon as you get rid of it, you're gonna need it.
Exactly.
Or you let somebody borrow it and they never return it, and then you're like, damn it, I needed 2 of those. It's usually how it always goes.
Always. But, how do you have 2 presses?
Yeah, I was gonna say that because that's where I was going. It's like that's how you're able to go and train and do all these matches in Florida is because you don't have to crank the handle. You just let the thing go.
No, man, I have a good life now. Like I have the Dylan press on the right side with the
Mark 7.
The Mark 7 auto drive. The Mark 7 auto drive. That's been a blessing. I have 25,000 rounds through the auto drive now. And then to the left of it, I acquired a Mark 7 Apex 10. I only have like 2,000, 3,000 rounds on the Apex 10 because it has a hand crank. But when I'm feeling frisky and I want to like try a different round, I put something through the Apex 10. I just ordered a bunch of hollow point rounds that I'm gonna put through the Apex 10.
Oh, there you go.
But I might end up getting an auto drive for the Apex 10 too. That machine is super nice. I mean, I love it. I can't tell which one I like more.
Well, yeah, and it's probably nicer than your Dylan, but you're so used to the Dylan, it's like it's hard to like go back to cranking out. I remember
tell people it's nicer, but like I'm sitting here like I just did 2,000-3,000 rounds through it, and it's so nice. But I'm so attached to my Dylan. I got a total of 50,000 rounds. I have a spreadsheet on Google Drive with the hand crank. I have 35,000 rounds, just under 35,000 rounds, and then 25,000 through the auto drive. I mean, I'm over 50,000 rounds. I'm so attached to that Dylan. And then I started using the Mark 7, and I'm like, this is so nice. I don't want to admit it.
Well, luckily enough, you've already got the Apex 10. It's not that much to call Mark 7 and be like, can you send me an auto drive?
Yeah. I mean, think about that. I could have 2 going. Think about all the ammo I could shoot.
Just remember, you could cut out the middleman and not have to buy brass from Mark.
You're right, but I'm lazy. I'm very lazy.
You set one up to. You could set the Dylan up. Brass. You could set the Dylan up to just process brass.
I could.
Where the marks?
That's such a dirty job.
Oh, it is filthy. Why do you think I hate picking up brass? I will pick up brass at the indoor match. That's about it because I can sweep
Mark,
it up.
Listen to this. I love you. keep processing my brass. I'll continue to buy 30,000, 40,000 at a time. I don't want to get my hands dirty.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't want to get my hands dirty, but that's why I wear gloves when I pick up brass. And that's one of the disgusting things about shooting indoors, like all the lead in the air. Like,
Yep.
and I see people eat a fucking sandwich on the range. I'm like, ugh.
The worst. The
Yeah,
worst.
well, and it's not like, I mean, even if you eat a banana, you're still kind of touching the banana. It's like, I don't know. I don't like to eat when I'm on the range, but I also do carry
Outdoors,
a thing like,
I get away with it.
I mean, I wear the lead. I'll either, I got a bag of those, the little pack of the lead wipes. I've got a thing on the lead wipes in my bag, which we both have S3 range carts because those are like the best.
Yep.
Mark just makes you buy everything. It just seems what it comes down to is he's an enabler.
He probably texts you the same thing he texts me, and he's like, "It's only money. Yeah, it's just money."
Well, so
and that's how I got everything.
And he just started a lasering company and an FFL lasering company. I'm like, bro, I'm glad your wife is a sugar mama and can just buy you everything you want. But like, but he's right.
He is an enabler. He is an enabler. But I'll tell you what, I'm not mad about any of the purchases he forced me to make. I'm not mad about a single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I love my S3 range cart.
Oh, I do too. And my problem is I can't actually get an S3 range cart because I already had the large Zuka cart and I'd already modified it enough where I couldn't really sell it to anybody. Like I've drilled holes through the darn thing because I attached Safariland QLSs to the lid so I could have a med kit attached and my paster gun attached to it.
That's smart.
So, because like my buddy Chris Galnett, have you ever met Chris Galnett? He loves orange.
I've not.
Okay, well, if you see a guy decked out in full orange with an orange cart, that's him.
Then I'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll know. You just say "orange gasm" across the air, and he'll be like, "Huh?" But he has magnets for his like paster gun or like a tool or something he'd throw in his cart. And I was like, I don't want a magnet because I drive a car. I don't want to scuff up my paint job with a magnet, and I would forget to put like a cover on it. So Leif Kunkel of GX Products showed me attaching the QLS's the receiver and drilling it onto the lid, like the flap, the vertical portion of the lid. Screwed it on, put the QLS in, and then I screwed holes through the paster gun side plate, and then just clicked it in. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
Smart.
So if you don't need it, you're going to be the shooter. You just kind of just sit it in there. You don't really click it in, but if you're going to the next stage, you click it in and it never falls off. But then I had a Dark Angel medical kit I did on the other side. But now that I have the S3 cart, which is actually in my kitchen because I got the match tomorrow, now it's just the Dark Angel kit's mollied onto the side of the cart now. So, but, yeah. And then I actually I looked at the S3 cart and I'm like, oh, all I needed to get is some extruded aluminum from work. And I drilled holes into my cart and screwed the brackets in to make it look like it. And I put the bag on it. The owner, Mike, who somewhat times runs their social media, is like, oh, look, there's another guy who did it, but he did it reverse. So mine's got like a gap because it's a little taller than their cart that they use. So I've got about a 4-inch gap from where the lid sits to the top of my cart, which is no big deal because I just leave the bag part open when I'm at a local. I don't zip it. I don't close the lid or zip it up really much. So no big deal. But that person brought it all the way to the top and then just had more space underneath the bag, like the bottom bag for like ammo storage and stuff. And I'm like, that's pretty smart. But I already I'm not drilling more holes into this cart. So I'm just going to leave it as is. And it works great. I love my S3 cart. And I was one of those guys who put a double alpha bag in their Zuka, their big Zuka cart for a long time. And I'm like, this works, but I can't get to some of this shit because it's blocked by the wheels or it's like, the purpose-built stuff is nice. When somebody thinks it through, just like the Mark 7, just like the S3 range carts, the monsoon builds. Vinny thinks of all that stuff. He knows what's going to look good too. So,
absolutely.
So I want to, before we kind of wrap this up, which I love this conversation. I got to talk about Monsoon Range Day. This is the second Monsoon Range Day they've had, or what Monsoon Demo Day, or
Monsoon Demo Day, yeah.
So how was So first, I guess, tell people what Monsoon Demo Day is, and then we'll kind of talk about how it's evolved a little bit.
That's a great question. Monsoon Demo Day is the one true event Vinny asks the three of us to work every year. outside of representing his company at all the matches and majors, of course. But the one true event that we get to work, it's a full day event. Yeah, this year we hosted it at Achilles Heel Tacticals Range, their new range in Southeast Ohio, and what is it exactly? It's the opportunity for people of any shooting level. You could be from tactical world. You could have no shooting ability. You could be a practical shooter to come out and shoot stages that we would shoot throughout the season. We picked stages that we had at major matches, as well as you get the opportunity to win a lot of prizes. We had multiple sponsors this year, including Howitzer. Obviously, we gave away some guns. And then, you get the opportunity to meet the rest of the team, and you get to meet Vinny. You get to meet Vinny's coworkers. You get to meet Taylor, who's the guy that's in charge of all Cerakote. So you get to meet a ton of great people, and then ultimately shoot alongside all of us. I think we had, somewhere around 30 people this year, and every single person wanted to shoot the match. We did 5 stages. One of the fun stages we had, actually 2 of the fun stages we had involved cars.
Mm-hmm.
Those were great props to have. Made stages really fun. They were both burners. And then we took a stage out of the Handgun Nationals book and used an entire bay for that. That was a fun stage. And then 2 more stages that were pretty linear, but still a ton of fun. It was a very successful event this year. And then for lunch, I can't remember who we had cater. I think it was barbecue. It was barbecue food. But yeah, that was the event.
But they didn't make Pete cook steak.
They should have. They should have. Pete brought the new AIM surplus van. That thing is freaking baller.
Oh yeah. See, and that's another thing we can talk. See, Pete, this is where you're just like, okay, I'll come on the show. Talk about your creepy AIM van. Well, it's all those panel vans. I always call them like creeper vans. Well, truly, to have a creeper van is no windows and it's all white and there's no logos on it. Anything.
Yeah, this is like a high-end transit van. I mean, this thing was too nice to be bringing to the range.
To the range, yeah. It's like it doesn't want to leave pavement, right?
Yeah, it was way too nice.
Yeah, well, and that's cool. Like you met my buddy Tony Salas.
Yeah.
And he was at range day. He was at demo day this year. I think him and I don't know. Did Twista go? I can't remember if Twista was there.
I don't think Twista was there. I'm not 100% sure. The name got passed around, and I hadn't met him before, so I didn't know who to look for.
Yeah.
But I got to meet Tony.
Yep.
And then the other gentleman's name was Mr. Keys online or something. Mr. J. Keys.
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I've never met him, but yeah, it sounds familiar. He's probably one of Tony's buddies too. But
Twista, one of Tony's buddies.
Yeah, but Twista is like the rapper Twista. Like people like when I say that name, like his real name's Carl, by the way. But no, Twista. Like people like when I say like, I know Twista. Well, and they're like, you mean like the rapper? I'm like, yeah, he shoots and he's pretty good. He's a lefty. But if I remember right, Tony brought one of his blasters and Tony was shooting one of Twista's guns for a little while at the demo day. So that's the cool thing is like, everyone gets to shoot, they get a little bit better. And and honestly, demo day is probably one of the best ways for people who are kind of competition curious to go in.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it was probably on your feed. You were given like the shooter's brief, you're telling people what the commands were and whatnot. But and it's always good to see, people wanting to compete. I mean, everyone's got their ego, right? That's usually the big thing is people think they're better than they are, but it's good to see people put their ego at the door and actually go compete and push themselves against each other. Like the friendly competition is the fun part about it.
Less than 5% of them had shot a match before. And they were all, like you said, competition curious. I'm sure some of them went home and considered shooting a match after that. And that makes me happy to at least think. I hope they did. I hope they went home and they made a practice score account and they had the opportunity to go shoot one of their local matches, whether it is USPSA or something else. Like I said, that's good for what we do. The other thing I forgot to mention was it is demo day, so we get to demo all of Vinny's guns. Everybody gets to shoot Vinny's guns and get to experience the things that they might not own that they're interested in purchasing. And get to know like all of his future paint work, all of his future Cerakote jobs, and potential stippling that he's going to release. So there was a lot of things that they got to see that they might want to buy in the future.
Right. And that's the cool thing is you can and you can test it out with your market, right? The guys who've already owned your product to be like, are you interested in this? Is this worth my time introducing to the market or figuring out how to stipple this? Like, I mean, I don't know the exact details of how many people work for Vinny or how many guns Vinny actually physically touches on a day-to-day basis. But, if you design a new pattern that you're going to stipple in, you got to figure it out. I mean, there's probably a bunch of SIG FCUs that have been wasted by design, it's probably the cheapest way to test stippling patterns on true handgun grips is buying FCUs. Well, not FCUs, but grip modules.
Yeah, I mean, like a SIG grip module.
Yeah,
those are relatively inexpensive, but you could go through hundreds of them just practicing different patterns.
Yeah, well, and how he does it, he makes it look so smooth too. Like that's the cool thing, right? Like when he posts a little video of him sitting there and you see just like how he's, he doesn't show you the whole thing, but you're watching him put the lines in. I think that's one of the coolest things that they do is the borders on things.
He's a modern artist, right? Like a lot of artists would never even explore in something like that, but the stuff that he comes up with for a gun is quite unique. It's quite unique, and it's often imitated, right? Like a lot of people will see what he does and want to try to accomplish the same thing through a different company. But Vinny's artwork is very unique.
Same, but different. Like, that guy. But
yeah.
But I can't remember what Vinny's background was before he got into Monsoon, but he would be a killer like tattoo artist.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was a diesel mechanic. From the best of my knowledge. He's a diesel mechanic from the best of my knowledge.
So Vinny, if Monsoon ever fails, bro, tattoo artist.
Initial D tattoos for the whole gang.
I mean, I bet he's probably tattooed himself though. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
he'd be good at it.
Yeah,
I would. Talented.
Yeah. He's got like one kid, I think, doesn't he? He's got one baby.
Yep.
Well, if you don't count his fur babies.
If you don't count the dogs, he's got one young one.
Yeah. Oh, and God, I mean, we brought this up way in the beginning. I got to double back to it, but we've talked about DSS a little bit too. And Scott offers a good product, right? As a member, like you don't have to set up anything when you go there for the most part. You just put your targets out, right?
Yeah. Here, DSS is a blessing. Like Scott always talks about, wanting the sport to grow and being able to have a very successful range. But the thing that he prides himself in the most is actually developing shooters and people that care about practical shooting. Mm-hmm. And so his stages, while he does get some complaints throughout the year, are very hard. They prepare you for level 2 and level 3 matches. But when you go to his range to practice, like when I was there on Friday, I only had to set up targets. I mean, there were already walls up in the third bay that I could use that were stage-worthy walls, and I could create a 4 to 5 position stage out of just by putting targets out. Now, there were no fault lines, but still, like that's pretty good at the end of December when it's 40 degrees, 50 degrees outside, and nobody wants to go outside to begin with. All I have to do is put out some paper. So I do like that a lot. And, his range it's not employed. There isn't staff. There isn't safety officers. You're your own range safety officer. Mm-hmm. You go, you have your code, you go when you choose. And that freedom right there, gives you the opportunity to, a little bit of explore, right? Like you don't have to be nervous that somebody's going to watch to make sure that you're doing something correct or judge you based on how you're shooting, like at a normal range. So you go there and you're comfortable because it's just you in that bay.
Right. 100%. Now, I guess another cool thing is, right, Scott is typically, if you're there during business hours, probably Scott's there for the most part. So I mean, he's weird. That's his job. Like, that's the cool thing is like, DSS is his job. So he'll move, he has his matches, but he moves the walls and stuff. So yeah. Scott's a plethora of knowledge. He's a plethora of knowledge. He knows so many people in this sport. It's ridiculous. Like how many people he actually knows. And that's the cool thing about it is, and he's willing to talk to everybody.
Mentor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been an incredible. Oh, you scared me, honey. Sorry. No, you're okay. He's been an incredible mentor to Tanner and I. In fact, like so many rules that we had no idea existed in USPSA that Scott had taught us. especially when it comes to like reading a match, the match briefing. Just being able to read a match briefing and use it to your advantage is something Scott taught us in our first season that we'll use for the rest of our lives when shooting USPSA. So he's been a good mentor to us.
Yeah, and not a lot of people get that opportunity to have a good mentor like that. Like that's one of those things that kind of we fall off on the sport, right? Like people get into it and then they kind of move on. They don't, they don't get developed, right? Like, and that's one of those things that's successful about a very good local atmosphere or range is that you do get developed and people actually want to put effort into your learning of the sport. And Scott's one of those advocates, right? Like, if you, excuse me, he's going to help you, right? Like if you go shoot his action steel match on Wednesdays, he's going to tell you, hey, come out to the USPSA match. And it's just going to be kind of like this, but there's paper instead of these big old gongy steels. And then you keep coming back and you come back and you get pretty good pretty quick with like constant inoculation and getting a mentorship. And that's what, like, if anything anybody gets out of anything out of this practical sport is build up the next generation and bring them along and have fun. Like that's what we're all here for, is fun and learning.
Absolutely. I agree. But the only thing I don't like about DSS is the rest. What happened in the rest of the Midwest is we close for the winter. We don't close the range, but we stop shooting matches in the winter.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were talking about
That's
that
tough on me.
Oh yeah, it's the worst. Like you get the funky depression, and then you got a dry fire in your garage or your basement. It's just like this is not as fun.
And it's not the same. It's like we went and shot that Midwest shooting match, and my brain couldn't handle a stage. It hadn't shot a match in however so many days, and the processing of a stage wasn't the same as when season was in full swing. So I'm nervous about Florida. I'm very nervous about the Florida State Championship. That's why I'm scheduling so many things before then. It's because, if Midwest Shooting Center was my only match between now and then, I would not be in good shape. And it's because my brain isn't processing stages every weekend.
Right. Like, oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's one thing I've kind of taken off. Like I shot last month indoor match. We've got one tomorrow. Well, this will be in the past by the time all you'll listen to this, but now that I'm talking to Ryan, it's tomorrow. But, sorry, my hockey game is going off on my like the scores keep updating on my watch. So, sometimes I just double check, make sure the wife's like not like SOS, but, that's the only thing that should ring through, during one of these. This is just how I have it set up. But, I shoot them once a month, in the winter, which sucks. I kind of get lazy on the dry fire in the winter because it's the off season. There's nothing really to push for. I mean, some people are like, oh, let's go push for classification in the winter. I'm like, nah, I just want to go shoot big, long stages I want to go run. I want to go out and shoot matches and stages. Like, so for anyone who actually cares, I lost Ryan. His power went out, which is crazy. Lives in Ohio, lives in the Tornado Valley, the triangle of tornadoes, but it's crazy. You lost your power. You're surviving though.
I'm back though. I'm surviving. I have two lights on, a cloud and a mod light, and we're surviving. I can't believe my power went out. It's funny. I haven't lost power all year, but here I am getting an opportunity to be on this podcast, and I lose power.
Well, it could always be worse. It definitely could be worse. You could, a lot of other things could have been SOL on that one, but hey, it's okay. Usually it's people's phones die because they forget that they're they forget that we're on so long, and it draws their battery and their phone dies, which is normal. But
you're probably sitting there like, are you serious?
It's not the first, and it won't be the last time. I mean, this will probably maybe this will be the first time that someone's lost power during a show, but which is interesting because we're about getting ready to wrap this up, but there we go. But we've talked about your Spark. We're gonna full wrap around about the partners and sponsors here in a second, but I'm curious. I try to ask everybody this question, but what is your make ready look like?
Oh man, this is such a controversial topic. Oh, nobody's ever asked me this. My make ready is like the make ready that people hate right now, right? Like I shoot a double action, single action CZ Shadow 2. So when I drop my hammer, I put my thumb between the slide and the hammer. I first drop my hand, right? Obviously, put one in the gun, rack the slide, drop one in the hammer, check my sight picture, make sure my hammer's down. And then I go through my stage plan. I look at each target that I'm going to be shooting in the order that I shoot them. And then I this sounds bad, but I have to give myself some level of positive encouragement right before I say I'm ready. Like, I have to say, come on, Ryan, like, you got this. Like, no stress here. Don't, like, shake off the nerves. You'll be okay. And I have to say it out loud. And I'm the kind of guy that when he shoots stages, you know how, like, you'll watch Tom or you'll watch Joey Soderland shoot, and they're very vocal in the stage, after the stage, before the stage, whatever. They're very vocal. I'm very vocal too. So before the stage, you'll always see me say, come on, Ryan, let's go. Like, we got this. And then after the stage, if I have a good stage, you'll see me celebrate a little bit, like, because I'll be pretty excited. So that's what my make ready looks like.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, there's probably longer. There's probably the D class guy who's long, and they do the GM make ready. I'm trying to get a little bit better about it, but usually my problem is like, I've made the stage. Like, I was the guy who built the match. I built the stage. I'm like, okay, this is the first time walking the stage. It's like, I guess I got to be ready. So I take a little bit longer, usually on the visualization, because I'm like, I was worried about 4 other things before it became time to actually shoot the stage. So
yeah,
but
that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's sorry, try not to cough directly on the microphone because it's just loud. But anyway, it's you take whatever time you need to visualize and whatnot, and I think whatever's the recipe. There's no one true way to make ready in this sport. I think if you found the recipe that works for you, that's what works, right? Like, and I don't want to discourage anybody from that, right? Like, people are going to do what they're going to do.
That's a good question, though.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
Yeah, well, and I can't even take credit for that question. That's actually a question that Jay Beal wanted David Riddle on the Casual Shooters podcast to ask people, and I'm like, I like that question every once in a while, like to throw people off their game, and I'm curious too, because everyone's make ready is a little different, right? Like, like there's some people who literally they load the gun, they put the gun back in the hole, like they'll pull it, they'll check their dot, okay, dot looks good, load gun, put gun back in holster, and they're ready to go. And some of them who have very great success at doing that, and there's some people who are then hunting for targets. It depends purely on their inoculation to shooting stages, right?
I'm one of the magic wand guys. Like they go like this, like they're like waving their hand around, shooting at the targets, like they got their magic wand out. That's me.
That's me through the first that first array, or maybe even to the reload, right? Like if I got to do a reload. Like I'll do the draw, like I'll shoot bang, bang, bang. I'm like pop, pop. Okay, ding, ding. I'm running over here, so I go bang, 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 bang. Oh, and then I do the reload, and I do my reload, and then I kind of just stop, and then I'm like, okay, let's load the gun now. Usually, but it all depends, right? Especially if we don't see a lot of memory stages up here, and thank the Lord, because I wouldn't want to shoot a memory stage every month. I mean, if you think about it, every stage is a memory stage, but those silly ones that are like there's 30 targets in a line, and then you got to remember where you shot which one
I know
from
exactly
where.
what you're talking about. Scott has 2 a match.
Ugh. Well, just remember Scott B. I haven't even shot DSS, and I know you go to every corner on a Scott Beebe stage.
Oh yeah,
you just go
sometimes
there.
Sometimes twice. Yes.
Yep.
Oh yes, you do.
And it's one of the good things. I mean, there's a lot of good people who love those stages and those matches, and they make you better, right? And that's the goal of a level 1 match, I think, is to prepare you for state and area level matches. And those state and area level matches are supposed to prepare you for nationals.
You talked about earlier your brain being ready to shoot a stage, and the stages that Scott put together, like they're all 2 memory stages a month. They make your brain efficient for every stage that's less than that. So I they're hard to shoot. They're not extremely enjoyable, but I love what it does for
me. Oh yeah, they're just going to make you better shooters in the long run. So that's always a good thing too. But as we get near our time here, obviously we've talked about Monsoon a lot, but this is where I let you share, usually we pimp the ride of everybody who supports you. So, who are your other, well, besides Munson, who are your other partners or sponsors?
That's a great question, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share the people that have really helped me along, this journey. Obviously, as for individuals, shooting with Tanner and Pete has been a blessing. While we all have our own sponsors and people that support us at the business level, those two guys, I wouldn't be here without them, and I probably wouldn't want to shoot this sport without them.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on, I have some personal sponsors. I've recently partnered with Howitzer Clothing. That's been a recent partnership in the last 2 months since I took my trip to Idaho
Mm-hmm.
for training with Donovan at Defender Ranch. I'm also partnered with Brotherhood Blades here at Ohio. He makes high quality handmade blades. He just came out with the version 2 of his flipper. And I'm also partnered with North Coast Tactical. He has a holster named the Turbo holster. For those of you that don't know, my Instagram name is Rusty Turbos. He has a competition holster named the Turbo holster. Here for the partnerships that I have, I'll wrap it up with Brotherhood Blades, North Coast Tactical, and Delta Strategic out of Northeast Ohio, all locally owned here in Northeast Ohio. All been great partners for me, all been great humans to me, and all ultimately have been great mentors in shooting sports and life. These people not only support me in what I do for shooting sports, but they also support my family and I in guidance and creating great lifelong friendships. So thank you guys. I love you guys. You know who you are. Appreciate everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks
And
for letting
that's
me
great.
talk about it, Manny. I appreciate
No
that.
problem. That's my thing is I give back to the people in the sport. If it's the shooters, the companies, I try to use my platform to give back. It's not necessarily about promoting myself, but everyone in the sport. I did have a couple. I did have one thing I really wanted to go before we pinch this one off. It is from North Coast Tactical, and he wanted me to ask, is he your special guest?
Oh my God. Did he?
and he'll say, and the comment behind it is he'll get it.
I understand. Here, you're going to see a video that North Coast Tactical will post on one of these Fridays. He asked me to come take a tour of his shop, and I built some holsters for him that day. And then he asked me to make a video for him introducing one of his holsters, and I
Mm-hmm.
butchered it so badly. Like, some people get camera shy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I butchered it so badly that the only thing good that came out of this video he asked me to make was the blooper reel. So he's not posting the video of me introducing the holster. He's posting the video of the blooper reel. And it is hilarious. And for most people, they'd probably be embarrassed. But I'm not going to lie, I was crying of laughter when he sent me this video he edited. Actually, one of our friends, Justin, edited it. But still, it's so funny. And I probably said special guest like 20 times. And you'll see the video when it comes out on Friday. Hopefully, it's this Friday. I thought it was going to be last Friday, but yeah, a special guest. I'm going to get him for that. I'm going to get
Yeah,
him
you
for
are. You have to. You definitely have to because it's not fun if you don't. Like that's why we jab at each other for the lulls. That's how it goes. I think we got everyone
that.
else's questions organically, but I had to throw that in there right before the end. So
Oh, thank you so much.
no problem, Ryan. Brother, thank you for coming on and hanging out with me and having a blast. This was a good one, even though you lost power and then your internet crunkled, so I'll have to do some more editing than I normally do, but it's all good. So thank
I'm
you for
sorry
coming
about
on.
that. Manny, thank you so much for having me on. This type of stuff, I think you're an advocate for the sport. I think what you do promotes a healthy sport and really grows the name for USPSA and practical shooting, hopefully getting more people into the sport. That's really what one of my goals is for 2025. And I love what you do. So anytime that you want to have me or a member of the team here on the show, please let me know. I'll do my best to encourage Tanner and Pete to jump on here with you because this is fun. This getting to know people inside the sport, getting to know people with similar goals. I love this. I love
Mhm.
this. So anytime you want to call me back on, please, I'd love that opportunity again.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna have to do it again. We'll have to grab Pete, grab Tanner. We'll make it a hoot. But I
Make some
appreciate your
steaks.
time.
Let's do it in person.
Oh heck yeah! I have a machine that we can do it in person, so it makes it even easier. But
Oh,
but
that'd be
man,
cool.
but Ryan, thank you, man, and to the listeners, I have to thank you. As I say every episode, get out and do the things, and I will see you on the next one.